Yes, I think becoming more of a lover and less of a sheep has opened up a lot of doors for me. I've always had a strong yoga practice, and for the longest time, I cleaned the studio is my home away from home for my membership, and now I'm teaching there. And it's empowering. It feels good to have the ships rising. I think the more people share their stories, the more somebody will resonate with this person, and they might actually step up and into a more fulfilled version of themselves.
Take the time to remind yourself that it all starts inside yourself. Wake up feeling stuck every day, then you gotta realize that it's all in your mindset. Read about the meditation, you go get around to it, you just haven't had the time. Yeah, I bet. Best thing that you could invest in is you. Could have the results or could have the excuse. Only one life, so take care of what you choose. I ain't preaching, I'm just telling you the truth. Wake up.
Hello and welcome to Bombastik Broadcasting with Kat, Kim, and Sue.
As you know, here at Bombastik Broadcasting, we believe in shining the light on all things bombastic and illuminating the folks who are stoking the fire in their souls, one podcast at a time. So here tonight, our guest who is stoking the fire in her soul is Marie Selzer, and her business is Sage Guidance. She's really passionate about self-development, got inspired, to create this pathway to help you overcome self-doubt, low self-esteem, procrastination, and create long-lasting transformation and abundance in every area of life, and really enjoys working with the financial planning industry, which I think is fantastic. And archetypal wisdom is one of the deep dives that she's really passionate about as well. So we're going to hear more and more and more about all of this, and we're very excited to have you here tonight, Marie. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Marie, it's great to meet you. I'm just going to start off with the light and fluffy question, like, where are you located?
I live in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Okay.
Originally came out here for the University of Utah, and I met my husband who came out here also for the university. So yeah, that's our base station. I was born in Canada, and I grew up mostly in Los Alamos, New Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
All over.
Yeah, the Desert West has been my home.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then how long have you had sorry, I'm just rambling on with the question skills. How long have you had your business for?
I got the entrepreneurial knowledge from Peter Sage and started having more of a business form, but after doing his pineal gland cruise in 2022, and kind of been piecing that together and having more success with that in 2023 and 24. I ran my first cohort in 2023, so that's still in development, and I'm hoping to have more people and more cohorts and transform more lives.
Very cool. Did you say pineal gland cruise?
Yes.
That is an awesome group of words put together.
Yeah. What does that mean?
I've heard of the pineal gland, and I know it's really important. And can you please, for our listeners and for us to refresh our minds, can you dive into the pineal gland a little bit for us? It's not below the belt either, right? But
right. Yeah. So, and that's why we meditate. And there's other physical matter reality things like trying to not have fluoride in your toothpaste, and because that can be coating of the pineal gland. So the reason the Pope has a pine cone shaped staff is because that's the shape of the pineal gland in your body.
Wow. Oh, wow. So it's here?
I'm not a biologist of the human anatomy, but I've seen pictures of it, and
Okay. So how was the cruise was based on that? How did that work?
It was magical. Yeah, I think it was kind of Joe Dispenza inspired. One of the tools that I use is a heart mass monitor. You can plug that into my phone, and it shows you what your heart brain coherence is. You clip it to your ear, and you can monitor your heart brain coherence. So you can tell when your meditation session is more impactful.
That would be a useful tool, because to have your heart and your mind kind of in alignment is not always easy.
Right. When they're in sync, it's so powerful. And I think on that cruise, I got better at that, and I got better at kind of really getting immersed in the feeling of my meditation and having physical visualizations and jumping in the ocean and just feeling all the water surrounding my body and just making it more tangible and actually tasting things just imaginatively, and really trying to bring all five senses into the meditation. was helpful for me.
How many days on a cruise?
Oh gosh, I'm not very good with time. I'm more like the Aboriginals in the frequency domain, instead of chronological. It was definitely one of the big spikes in my frequency domain time that just feels like it's a place I can revisit forever. So it's just one of those highlights in my life.
That's fantastic. And so you just basically were on this cruise and did classes all day, and everybody in the cruise was in the same group as you?
Yes, Leader Sage would guide us through courses till 1 p.m. and then we'd stop and do something on part of an island for the rest of the day. So one day we had speedboats, another day we did a caravan of Volkswagen cars across an island.
Wow.
A lot of variety, a lot of fun.
That sounds amazing. And what does the pineal gland actually do for us?
It allows us to have that connection to spirit, mind, body, spirit connection. And I think really tuning into that and allowing source energy to flow through you, and kind of like a light coming through and cleansing you and connecting you and grounding you. So you're send, and then it's a two-way communication. I think it just it's kind of like a pathway for that communication to happen. So when I began my self-development journey, there's 3 games in life where if you don't play them, they're going to play you. And health being one of them. I think that's kind of come naturally for me as an athlete. I was a gymnast through college. So a lot of that was already unconsciously programmed and set on a good path for me.
Yeah.
And then relationships is where I struggled. I was a half circle running around attracting other half circles. So I spent 5 years being single to be a whole circle. And I'm so grateful because my husband is amazing.
Oh, very nice.
That's so great.
And that was the main motivation at the beginning of my journey. And then a combination of, okay, so now I'm not getting played by the relationship game anymore and I'm really thriving and loving it. And the next thing to focus on is the money game. And so as far as the self-development and the non-optional games, that's why that's the focus for me now. And another motivating factor was witnessing my aunt she has Alzheimer's now, and the family coming together to make sure she's being taken care of properly and in a facility that's treating her well, and just realizing, oh my goodness, if that happened to me, I would be such a burden on my family. She had something in place from her elementary school teaching days that my aunts were able to figure out and have, so because these facilities are minimum $5,000 a month to make sure that they have a comfortable ending to this sad path.
And that's like a long-term care, right?
Yeah, long-term care.
Yeah.
And it was a wake-up call for me, like, oh gosh, I pray that's not the way I really want my body to go before my brain. But we don't get to choose those kind of things to an extent.
Yes.
Yeah, all the micro choices add up.
Right.
There you go.
But yeah, so just and then so the people came to me, and my senior manager in the industry is the best one in the office that I work for. The way he's treated his clients for 20 years, he's a fiduciary, and he's the one I get to bring people to the table to, because he has all the licenses you need we have over 150 rated or better products to choose from. So we can really figure out what's best for each individual and piece together a plan that can pull from, the security side and the insurance side, and just put it together and have a whole soccer team, like how to get the goalie in place, get some defensive players, some offensive players, and really have their money work for them.
I like the sports analogy too. Yeah, and that is so great, because you need a team, and to put that team in place is such a great thing financial planners do. And fiduciary, for those of you who are not in the industry, I mean, this was something I had to learn. It's putting others' interests ahead of your own gain. Correct, Marie? Yeah.
Yes.
So
the motto of our company is no family left behind. And something I love about that is it's non-captive, so it's vying for our business model to be part of their group and to be on our platform. So even Goldman Sachs is an example we use, where if you go to Goldman Sachs directly, you have to have a huge minimum to even work with them, like $500,000 or something, I'm not sure. But if you come to us, we can have you with Goldman Sachs at as low as $50 a month.
Wow.
So when these bigger companies come to our platform, they join us in the motto of no family left behind.
That's great. And how long
that's great. Wow.
How long have you been in the industry? I just have to ask.
A couple of years. Yeah, I kind of just attended the trainings a lot because I wanted more of a background before I really started reaching out too much. But then having Mike at the table, I'm finally like embracing it. Like, okay, if I if I don't know the answers, I know people who do, and I know that I can help set people up to win, whether it's through me or through the people I bring to them.
That's fantastic.
Fantastic.
So then so tell us now the bridge between your passion of helping people and kind of, you mentioned the anxiety-free executive. I could see very much how that fits into that world, and your archetypal wisdom, communication roadblocks, things like that. How are you bridging your two loves?
So bridging my two loves by having the three games that I want everyone to be able to win at. And I think the relationship game is kind of an all-inclusive one. I love, you're in a relationship with yourself. So it goes, even if you're wanting to be a loner on the mountain in a cabin, like you're still in a relationship with yourself. So being able to have that inner dialogue is important to understand how your brain ticks and what drives you and what triggers you and why, and just understanding that more to the point where you can overcome them. And then once you're under more understanding of your own, you can also learn how not everybody's brain works like yours. And there's, similar to the way we have right and left hands, we have a dominant hand that we use for more things. And for archetype simplicity's sake, we can say there's 4 main archetypes. And we all have access to all of them. We just tend to have a dominant one.
What
and
are
there's
they?
The first gift my husband ever made me is these 3D printouts, which represent the 4 archetypes. Yeah.
Very
so
sweet.
This is the sovereign. And so there's a balance and unbalanced. This is Rory Kilmartin's work. This is a course I've facilitated with Rory Kilmartin, and he's working on publishing a book, and I can't wait till he publishes it because I want to reference it and refer him. But yeah, so there one's an unbalanced sovereign, which this is a gorilla. They can become a tyrant.
Yes.
Yep. So that's the sovereign gorilla. And then
and that was what did you call it? Like unbalanced?
An unbalanced. So a sovereign is a king or queen.
Okay.
So that's why the printout's like a crown. Yeah. And so the unbalanced sovereign is the animal form, is how he is helping describe the unbalanced version, which would be a gorilla. And then the opposite is kind of, they like their to-do list, and the unbalanced form is like my way or the highway kind of mentality. And then their opposite one is the magician. So this is supposed to be like a rabbit coming out of a hat.
Yes, that's lovely.
Super creative types who like to have choices and don't like being told what to do. And so and then their animal is depicted by a fox, because they can be sly and slippery and dishonest. And so that's the unbalanced magician is referred to as a fox.
Okay.
And the power line kind of goes this way. So the sovereign and the magician are equal in power and weakness. And then on the full-on power side, we have the warrior, and they're kind of the gatekeepers of the village. They want to make sure everybody's safe, and they're constantly aware of any impending danger that might be around. So they're hypersensitive to this environment and surrounding and keeping people safe. The unbalanced warrior is a lone wolf. Yep. So they can have their shields up, and they have the most challenging healing path, I believe, in the 4 archetypes, because you kind of your healing path is the strengths of your opposite, and the opposite of the warrior is the lover, and they're the weakness side of the power line. And the animal that they're representing for the unbalanced lover is a sheep. They can be very sheepish.
Those are amazing. Wow.
Yeah, and I love the animal forms, because that just helps you really understand. And then there's a dividing line here on the diagonal. Like the sovereign and the warriors are kind of more external world aware, and the lover and the magicians are more internal world people.
What is the animal for the warrior?
Wolf, a lone wolf.
Oh, wolf. That's right. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
So there's the sovereign, the magician, the warrior, and the lover, and every one of those has an unbalanced form of them as well.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Cool.
So the goal is to try and balance whatever you are.
Right. And to learn, when I went through Rory Kilmartin's course, sometimes it takes you a while to figure out what is my default, and the easiest way to figure that out is what triggers you. How do you react when you're triggered? And that's kind of helps you figure out what your unbalanced form is and what your internal nature is, personality wise. The then the healing path is the opposite. So for me personally, I was very sheepish growing up, and so my opposite my healing path has been the warrior, which is they're really good with being assertive. So being assertive is what helps me thrive in life, actually speaking up and figuring out nobody's hearing the internal dialogue in my head. This is probably a conversation I was supposed to have so that this wouldn't be ruminating within myself, and just learning how to speak up in a way that other people can hear you. And when you often are attracted to your opposite, and so the warrior was my opposite, and so when I was a sheep, I was attracting these wolves. One of our weaknesses as sheep is it's like 0 or 100 when it comes to anger. Like we avoid being angry at the expense of becoming small. And so when we do get anger, it's an outbreak, it's a burst, it's a
bottle that you shake up, right? If you keep it in too much, then it just pops.
Yeah. And the warriors, they like when they yell a lot, they're fine with anger. They can go 0, 1, 2, 3. They have all the levels to access depending on the situation, what's the appropriate response for keeping people safe around them. And so if a wolf is with a sheep and they're yelling because something's important, the sheep's taking it personally and running away. Like it's like, no. Yeah. And just realizing, when people are yelling, it's not necessarily that they're mad at me and directing something at me. It's not a stab at me. It's just they're just letting me know there's something important. I better tune in and pay attention and lean into it.
It's a pretty difficult little step to overcome, I would imagine.
Yeah. The warrior path, on the contrary, their healing path has 2 steps because it's so challenging. Because they're used to being assertive. They know how to keep themselves safe and be fine for the most part. And so gentleness is the first step, and then vulnerability. Because becoming vulnerable, you can get hurt. You can get bad feelings from it. You risk that for the reward of when the vulnerability actually really opens you up and lets you experience life in a intense, beautiful way.
Right.
Yes.
And that was the warrior.
Yeah. Wait, this is Rory Kilmartin. I just need to keep throwing that name in there.
Great.
That's where I learned it from.
It's also all you, Marie. You're doing a good job of this.
Really what helped me understand my upbringing, the dynamics of my family, and why I became who I became, and and how to tune in and reprogram those parts of my subconscious that were no longer serving me.
Can you be 2 things, or if you're on the path to becoming developed, you are obviously moving away from this and towards that a little bit?
Yes. So in the family dynamics, sometimes if you have 2 parents that are very external and domineering and you're born with that nature, but there's no space in that household for you to be that, then there's this balance of power. So you can be different versions with different people.
That's interesting.
It's a whole balance. And the more you're able to recognize it and figure out where they're coming from and which archetypal language they're speaking, then you have a better chance of responding from a more balanced place. And so if you're not reacting from the opposite of where they're coming at you from, and you're leaning in and you're responding from a more balanced place, then that pulls them into the center. And the center is like being all of them at once and understanding everything.
Okay, the perfect person, all of them at once.
But I don't. Yeah, there's sometimes you need the, like for me, the sovereign is the one that's been the most dormant and the one that I've been really shaking awake. Finding that organization, making sure the accountability is there. And I think the sovereign, they often marry the magicians, and the magicians get so frustrated being told what to do, but all they have to learn is like, oh no, I just need to give them a choice. Like, how about this or that? Give them some options and be open to them having an even different possibility of how to get that thing done that needs to get done in the sovereign's mind.
So Rory figured out a path to sort of balance for all the different archetypes.
To give you understanding and a way to accept, respond, interact with people who are maybe in your life, regardless that are very unbalanced in their own lives, and maybe they're not choosing to do the internal work. But if you're working at it and you're understanding where they're coming from, then you can interact with them in a way that's healthier. And often the person who's not choosing to do the work will end up growing with you because they're the way you're responding to them, they brings them closer to being more balanced themselves.
Oh, okay. And do you have this as part of your coaching, like one of your coaching packages at all?
I met Rory Kilmartin through Peter Sage's work. It was one of the master classes in his relationship section of the 6-month transformational journey. And that's the one I chose to do the deep dive on.
Okay, right. Well, that sounds very interesting. You have the YouTube of Peter Sage on your website, and I listened to the one about procrastinating. And it said if you don't start starring in the movie of your life, you'll end up being an extra in somebody else's by default.
Yes.
I thought that was super cool. So you're going to walk people through how to not be an extra in somebody else's movie.
It's
pretty motivating.
Acknowledge themselves as the star of their movie, and the more they own that, the more impact they have on everybody else.
Definitely.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And so the 6-month transformational course, this is all like pieces of what clients will learn in that course with you.
Yes.
Is it one-on-one or?
Yes, it can be one-on-one. And then it can also be in a group. I like the group setting because you can often learn from other people's experiences.
Sure.
And depending on the client's preference. I know when I first started kind of exploring the way my brain was working, I started out one-on-one because I just was wanting that safety but then once
only upsetting one person potentially.
Right. Wait a minute, I'm just learning how to be assertive. It was part of Rory's course. When you figure out what your survival archetype is, you break off into groups of people with the same survival archetype as yours. And you tend to, another answer to your question is that yes, when I'm more balanced, I'm kind of in both the internal world places. I'm magician and lover when I'm more balanced. It's just when I'm triggered, I'm definitely more sheepish is my tendency. So you get into groups of your own, and then he provides 3 questions for every group, and you record the call you have with your group, and then you listen to the other group's answers to the exact same questions. It's so fascinating.
Wow.
That's
sure. Yeah.
It's so daunting, it's like you feel like you just got shot by arrows when you first get triggered on something that you're sensitive to, but that would transform a lot for people that are in the thick of that, I'm sure.
Yeah, understanding why or what the actual intent was from the person that possibly was triggering them. Yeah, I mean, it's something Peter Sage really drives home is that triggers are gifts. Triggers are letting you know where you can do your next piece of work.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Throughout life, I just had a recent trigger, and I realized, wait a minute, there's something deeper. Like there's no reason I should have been that distraught over this event. Like, why did that happen? And then I thought of something in my past, and the reason, and did a Ho'oponopono session for that memory and for the old version of myself, and really worked through something that had previously been trapped in my body, and I didn't even realize it till I had that gift of a trigger.
Just released it then.
Wow.
You were able to let it go.
Was that Hawaiian? Yeah. What you just said, was that Hawaiian?
Yes. Are you trained in Ho'oponopono? Is that it?
Does Chris Duncan do that?
No, he doesn't, but I just recently started digging into it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure which mentor I figured that one out from, but I love it and I apply it a lot.
What is it? Can you share?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So when you you kind of send love and forgiveness. So it's a 4-step process where you say, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. So those are the 4 steps. And so in the process of realizing where the deeper source of that trigger may have been for me, it involved a friendship of mine in the past, and he's since passed away. So it was just even applying those principles to his spirit in my memory and doing those 4 steps for him. And then, so thank you. Well, no, sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you. And like kind of understanding my contribution to the challenge that happened in that time period. And then going back and doing the same thing for the older version of myself that was still doing the best she could at that time. And it was an unfortunate circumstance, the way things played out. And still like just acknowledging that older version of yourself. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you.
Wow.
So it pertains to you and another person. It can be for whoever needs it.
Yes. Yep.
So I just read about Dr. Hugh Lin, and he used that technique in an institution in Hawaii for the criminally insane. Did you hear that story at all? Well, they got him in because the patients were so violent and unruly and just running wild. And then he had people working there who were too scared to come to work. They would only work there for a week or two because it was super scary and they didn't want to deal with it. And so they got this Dr. Hugh Lin in, and within a few weeks, the whole atmosphere had settled down. And over a little bit more time, people started enjoying coming to work, and the patients settled way down, and the staff were just enjoying their lives a lot better. And within 2 years, they closed the whole facility down because everybody was healed. He didn't ever meet any of the patients. He sat with their files. So he's had their files of everything they'd done in their lives, and he healed them like that, just using that. And I just thought that was super trippy.
Is there a book on that, Kim?
I'll send you something, Kath. Yeah, it's well, there's definitely some YouTubes on it.
That's fantastic, and it's on the Ho'opono.
That's
Ho'opono.
Ho'opono. Well, it's funny because, and maybe that would be good to put in our link, because that's such a fascinating topic. I know I would love to learn about, and probably some of our listeners. I had that word written down on the back of a card, and I kept coming across it in the last 5 years, but I thought the word itself just meant I'm sorry, I forgive you, thank you, and I love you. I didn't know it was a ceremony. Wow.
Yeah, I think it's a process. And what I sort of understood from it was like you're healing sort of the space between the consciousness, between the two people and everything that happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
The next morning when I woke up after doing Ho'oponopono, the night that I did the deeper introspection on why I had been my most recent triggering, I woke up from a dream where on part of my house I had one of my dogs was laying on me and being all content. We were looking out the window and then looking inside of a window of the house across from me. And it wasn't like it is in reality. It was like this gear room, and there was a young man packing up his bag with gear and about getting ready to take off for an adventure, and there's this really peaceful feeling, and him waving at me through the window and saying bye once his bag was all packed up, and witnessing how content I was with my dog before he left. It was really a sweet little gift.
Oh, that is beautiful.
So that's something that you also do with clients? Is that part of the 6-month transformation?
I believe we learn about Ho'oponopono in the 6-month transformational course. That's probably where it came from for me in my life.
Do you use it on your clients? Do you coach it?
Yes, yeah. I've been doing more of the financial planning piece for people recently, though I would love to dive more into doing
I see.
the reprogramming of the subconscious work. I haven't been doing as much of that as I would like. Yeah.
Okay.
Coming soon.
Yeah. Yes.
You can have all the external world, physical reality, things set in place for even things like the money game. Though if your mindset is off and you're not learning how to reprogram that and really embrace abundance, and you're still coming from a scarcity mindset, it doesn't matter how much money you have if you're not able to manage it. And so really making sure that's why I believe they all come together and piece together, and helping people understand, like, in order for this financial plan to really, really work, it goes beyond just being disciplined about this monthly commitment.
Right.
Yes.
And goes
100%.
into the manifesting tools and understanding, having all areas of your the tide rises all ships.
We like that one.
We do.
Have you heard of financial therapy? Have you ever? It sounds like you're experiencing so much, and there's so many things that you can offer people. It must be hard to hone in on exactly what you want to give or do for people, because you have so much that you're privy to now. Did this all just start to open up for you recently?
Yes, I think the becoming more of a lover and less of a sheep has opened up a lot of doors for me. I've always had a strong yoga practice, and for the longest time I'd cleaned the studio that is my home away from home for my membership, and now I'm teaching there. Well, I'm standing on the podium, guiding people through the 26 and 2, and just it's empowering. It feels good to have the ships rising.
Right.
That's amazing.
Things you never thought that you would do, right? Because of being a little shy and you must be so proud of yourself.
It feels good.
Yeah.
And the community appreciates it too. I get good feedback.
Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah.
That's a great big step on the path.
Right. Some confirmation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the more people share their stories, it'll help whoever's looking to, the more seeds that are out there being planted, the more somebody will resonate with this person and they might actually step up and into being a more fulfilled version of themselves. And so maybe it's archetypal, maybe you're drawn to the similar archetype as yours, and that's the person who's going to help link you to these tools that will really help your life become more profound.
Yes.
Well
and
said.
everybody just comes at it from a slightly different angle. So it's, it's just always, something new.
Right. I really like having access to the 6-month transformational course because Peter Sage really does hit on every area and provides tools for everyone. And at that point, when you're connected to someone and you can, and they can be the one choosing, oh, yeah, this is where I really want more information and what's calling me at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to incorporate some of Chris Duncan's work that we did in California. Choices. Yeah, at the end of my plan is to, at the end of each session we'll meet once a week over Zoom when we do the 6-month transformational course and doing a super conscious recode on whichever concept it is that we explored during that meeting.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very, very helpful for sure.
So kind of leading your own mastermind group in experiential 6-month transformation course. Sorry.
I like the reading of that. I like the sound of that. Thank you, Kath. Mastermind group. Let's go.
I like it.
And let us know when you're going to do your cruise, Marie.
Yes.
Okay.
We're all coming on your cruise.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
It was Peter Sage's cruise, and he was having them annually.
We're coming on yours.
When you
get our own cruise, we can have our cruise.
When you do your cruise, we're coming.
Nice. Okay, sweet. Just make that happen. I love it.
That's great.
So what is some advice you would give to someone who might be 6 months behind your journey or a year behind your journey of this transformational learning and opening up?
Yes, if they're ready to take ownership and take charge of living a life of their dreams, that it's very possible. It's definitely, it's probable, especially if they've done the first step of taking ownership, then they're ready to move on, and communities like ours are ready to guide them. And it's so refreshing just to break through those barriers and become that better version of yourself and just allow yourself to flow and live in gratitude. Like when I first learned the power of acceptance and I really tuned into myself and the layers that I was working on, I cried more in a month than I had my entire life.
Wow.
And once you get through that, once you get past that, then sadness still comes up, but I'm able to acknowledge it and recognize, if a little girl is walking down the street and falls and scrapes her knees, the mom runs to the mom, gets the cuddle, like, okay, yep, everything's better. And as adults, if we fall and scrape our knee, we just get up and keep going. Like, we don't take that moment to be like, oh, wait a minute, I need to acknowledge this and give it some cream before I move on, and just give yourself that internal hug. And I think as adults, we tend to maybe let that slide to the point where we build stuff up internally, and to really get to not allow yourself to have the time to work through things as they come up. So that in that anxiety-free executive program, they were saying depression is an extended state of being a sadness. So if you're in a state of being a sadness and you allow yourself to be sad and work through it, then you've gone through it and you can be happy again, like genuinely happy. And if you don't and you keep letting it build up, then it develops into depression, and it develops into, and so just really honoring, wherever you're at and accepting that. For me, anxiety was a big one. So if I'm feeling anxious, I accept I'm experiencing anxiety right now, and that's okay. And it's kind of like you're inviting anxiety to come sit down and have tea with you. And so as anxiety comes and bundles up and is like, wait a minute, you're okay with me. You're embracing me. I don't belong here. And they just kind of dissipate. So that acceptance piece is so huge for the beginning of a journey. And then you're able to be more in flow, in tune, and living through me and being happy.
That was beautiful, the way you said that, Marie. And we just interviewed another bombastic guest who spoke a little bit about that too. Like with anxiety is trying to communicate something to us. So we need to sit down with it, because sometimes life is too busy or too much to really process something, or you're too busy for tears. And then they have this major epiphany of sorts where they have no choice but to look at it and deal with it. And what you're saying right there would be such a beacon of hope that there is a process. And did you say The Anxiety-Free Executive, is that a book?
Yes, Mike Pasovic wrote a book that I loaned to my senior manager, so it's at his desk, not my desk. He was working with Doreen Basovic, and she's the one who wrote The Power of Acceptance.
Okay.
And that's a 2-part book. The first part, she brought a different author in to just give example stories. And then she wrote the second part, which is really the process and the phrase, which is, I accept, I'm experiencing blank right now, and that's okay. So it starts out with acceptance, it ends with acceptance. You're saying, I accept this, it's okay. And whatever that middle blank is, that's it's not really a mantra, it's just really tuning into what you're experiencing and acknowledging that state of being. And for me, if you're not able to pinpoint it, you can just go into your body and like, oh, some tension in the shoulder, and filling in that blank, except I'm experiencing blank right now and it's okay. And that's really, and the more you do that, the more that blank becomes better feeling type things. And I use that phrase to help me, I was talking about the heart math earlier. And that's one of the ways, like some days it might take 15 minutes to get to that place where you're in a state of being of acceptance and you're having a more powerful meditation.
Yeah, you've got a lot of little pieces of your pie, and I really like the way you're tangling them all together.
Oh, thank you. Another thing for the meditation is breathing, something that it's focusing on the breath and like feeling it in from the belly and then up through your head. A little cue that helped me out was holding the tongue to the roof of my mouth so the inward breath would go to my brain more.
Okay. We're all trying that right now.
I know.
We're all giving it a shot.
So when you're breathing in, when you're doing it from the base, filling up the diaphragm, going through your lungs, through your throat, and having the breath come all the way up and circle through your brain before you're letting it out. And then you can open your mouth again when you're like letting it out. So those deep breaths, the breathing technique that helps you get to that meditative state. The little pointers that have helped me.
Well, Marie, you beat me to the punchline, but at Bombastik Broadcasting, we totally say a rising tide lifts all boats. So what can we do to lift your boat?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and Facebook, just as my name. Yeah.
Okay.
I try to do a Thoughtful Thursday post every week. It's kind of my goal.
Nice.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, lovely. Well, we will share that with all our listeners. And
awesome.
Thank you. Website.
Thank you so much, Kath, Kim, and Sue. I've loved this journey, having part of this journey with you.
Oh, well, thank you. It's been great having you on.
We learned a lot.
It's super fun to see you again and hear about all your projects.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So that's it from Bombastik Broadcasting. Be sage, be accepting, and be the best starring actor or actress in the movie of your life.
Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. So much more in this world that you can do. Wake up. Every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean a thing. Wake up. You keep shining. You keep grinding. Wake up. All is aligning. All you gotta do. Wake up. My man Mo said that the reason that the world fucked up is cause everybody lazy. Positivity is corny to them, but they still gon' complain about the bad going on. Shit crazy. So I just had to drop a little project. I don't know what the object is, but this feels good. If you too hood for the good vibe, sorry I ain't got nothing for you. Why should I?
You shouldn't. We out here doing the things that y'all wouldn't. Life could be a sweet ride, proof is in the pudding. These guys with the weak vibes, I'll show them where to put it. Down bad, I was looking for the answer. Mind all mad, taking over like a cancer. Canceled the sub plans, came from up above. Told me everything but doing, showing love, and I gotta
wake up. So much more in this world that you can do. Wake up. Every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean a thing. Wake up. You keep shining. You keep grinding. Wake up. All is aligning. All you gotta do. Wake up.
I've been getting so high, head up in the clouds. I don't ever wanna come down, but I gotta
wake up.
Ain't enough time to be down. Bust a smile, cause it's yet another day that I'm allowed to
wake up.
Feeling blessed to be alive, man. Not long till we thriving. Take the time to remind yourself that it all starts inside yourself. most.
Wake up feeling stuck every day, then you gotta realize that it's all in your mindset. Read about that meditation, you go get around to it, you just haven't had the time yet. Yeah, I bet. Best thing that you could invest in is you. Could have the results or could have the excuse. Only one life, so take care of what you choose. And I ain't preaching, I'm just telling you the truth. Wake up, so much more in this world that you can do. Wake up, every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean a thing. Wake up, you keep shining